on the part of the State of Israel. That's as close as to consider it as I saw. So let's take what happens to a Palestinian kid, a 14, 15, or 16-year-old, who goes on one of these demonstrations. The wall has cameras because, you know, Israel works in cooperation with the United States to have the best anti-terrorism service in the world and to take pictures. So at 2 in the morning, they come and roust you out, steal you from your home, and take you to jail, where they do not inform you that you have any rights. If you're the settler's kid who's thrown urine bombs on the market, the army is there to protect you. It is not there to be a police force. But for these military courts, they take these kids and they have 8 whole days to beat them up and torture them, and there's a whole booklet that's been put out with the account of these kids about how they were treated, and then they treat them for several months, treating them very badly, you know. I don't know if it's quite Guantanamo, but it's pretty bad. I think we got the idea from somewhere. I think that the Israeli government is a master of torture. Now, why do they have military courts for 16-year-olds? They throw stones, some of them. It's David and Goliath. So I was sitting on a roof. We were all sitting on a roof because we couldn't go to the demonstration on Friday in Nabi Saleh for the following reason: that Israel assaults the people with tear gas and rubber bullets. And we went around in several places, and you can see they have silver tear gas canisters and they have rubber bullets that are hard as diamonds. So I'm going to tell you the story of a person in a minute who was killed with one of these, actually one of the tear gas canisters. The other thing they do, all of this stuff is from the United States. In addition to the settlers, we provide them with all the weapons. Every Apache helicopter in Israel is provided by the United States. $3 billion of military aid. It doesn't matter who the president is every year from the United States of America. So, rock against the tank. The people in the villages don't think that's violent. I don't think it's particularly wise, but I don't think it's violent either, myself. I mean, you can kill somebody with a rock, but you throw rocks, they're way off. Anyway, the Israelis come and fire the soldiers at them. And by the way, they have these stench weapons, which I think is an Israeli weapon of choice. I think that one's done by Israel. I'm not sure. I got to find out. It may be an American company which has provided them with this. And if you get the stench on you, the stench bomb, you can't get it off. It takes days to get it off. And, you know, they like to fire streams of this stuff up into the black water tanks. Because it's not enough that they steal the water of the Palestinians. But, you know, there is a malice aforethought in this, which is as bad as anything that the Jews were subjected to, although the Jews were subjected to much more in Europe. There was a Palestinian town named Atara. The Israeli settlement near it is named Ateret. The memory of the Arab name is in Ateret. They want the Arab city nearby, village, to disappear. Walking around East Jerusalem to go to the holy sites, including the holy sites, we went around to the Stations of the Cross. It was very interesting. And, you know, lots of souvenirs being sold. You can see it all. Good racket. So, all the street names are in Hebrew and in Arabic and in English. So there's one that in Arabic is the street of the Mujahideen, who are the fighters. And some are buried nearby. And it's been changed in English and in Hebrew to Lion's Gate. And one day soon it will be changed in Arabic. So here are these sentences. The Palestinians were in Jordan before they were conquered again by Israel after the 1967 war. In Jordan, they owned their houses. In the shops, they have deeds going back to the Ottoman Empire and then provided by the British under the Mandate. So they can keep their shops if they sue in Israeli courts. In Hebron, one of the reasons why the city is shut down is the military has gone in and shut all the houses, all the shops, closed them off for military reasons. Some people still live on the upstairs. You can tell which ones are inhabited because they have grates in the window to keep stones and urine and so on from getting in. And they have to crawl out the back window to go to the store or to the cemetery just across the street. It takes about 15 minutes to go back around the reverse way. Or to the hospital. Can't go out the front door. Okay, maybe I've given you enough of a picture. I just want to tell you one last story. It's a fellow in Nabi Saleh named Bilal Tamimi, and he takes pictures, and he puts them up on YouTube. And he took pictures of a 7-year-old girl, Jana Tamimi, who went to talk about her friend Mustafa, her best friend, who had been killed with a tear gas canister. And the aunt, who I was sitting on the rooftop with watching the Israeli assault on these demonstrators, who, by the way, were just peacefully demonstrating, right? And the Israelis were shooting at them and arresting them. And if the internationals hadn't been there watching it, they would have shot a lot more, and they would have used the stenches and so on and so forth, the stench gas. She went and sang a song. She went first and appealed to the Israelis, the soldiers, who were young men with big guns, and she said, "Why did you kill Mustafa? He was my best friend. I loved him." And she repeated that. And she says to him, "Why are you laughing?" And then she says it to him again, "Why are you laughing?" And then she sings a song which actually defends rock throwing. And one of the lines is, "Who is right and who is wrong?" And she points at them. And Bilal actually took a film of all this, and sounds pretty good. He's had his camera smashed many times. He's been beaten up a whole bunch. But sometimes, you know, it's not simply an occupying army in the sense they don't simply murder you. You can actually take pictures. So you can find them on YouTube. You can't find them in the New York Times or the Washington Post. But you can find them on YouTube. And you can see which side is on. The easiest, by the way, the simplest judgment is just this. I'll just say, there's one group of people, like in Hebron. I stayed out from the interview. So there were 6 guys who came up with big guns. And they walked right by our bus. And they went around the block, and they were doing exercises in urban war and all sorts. And they're like that guy whose name was Baruch Goldstein. I don't know if any of you remember Baruch Goldstein. But in 1994, this rabbi from Brooklyn, went into a mosque on Ramadan and murdered 29 people and wounded about 125 people. And the Israeli government expressed its dismay that this had happened. But there's been, among the settlers, shrines put up to him, one of which has been removed, but they keep moving his body and putting up shrines to him. So that the issue of the insanity, the racist insanity of Israel, is actually pretty profound. And the idea that you're going to beat everybody into line and conquer the Middle East and so on. And America, for its own reasons, because Israel has been a spearhead, it's a tiny country of American interests for years and years in the Middle East. One of the spearheads, Saudi Arabia is another. They have used Israel dramatically, and they've gone along with and reinforced this, and many of the things that are most horrifying in the United States, like we were once the country that fought for agreements against torture, and under Bush we became the torturer country. Our relationship with Israel really sets a pattern in this regard. The neocons often talk about, we want to go out in pith helmets. Weren't the English wonderful? Churchill was right. What are they thinking of? Well, I'm sorry, I was just in Hebron. I know what they were thinking of, right? I saw these poor kids. They were led by an Ethiopian kid. He was kind of holding his gun loosely. The kid in the back, he had his finger on the trigger. He was going to shoot somebody. I will say that it struck me that very often internationals like Rachel Corrie and Thomas Herndl get caught up in these things. So I value the courage of the people on this tour, this delegation, and we're all trying to figure out how to do something about this. It will take a movement to do something about this. I wanted to praise the group in Boulder, of which Michael and some others are part, CU Divest. And I think actually that the boycott and divestment movement is one of the best things that people can be part of. I heard Omar Barghouti speak on it. He's, among other things, a philosopher, and he gave the clearest political talk I've heard in recent times about what they're against and what they're not against, and what they're trying to do. And this is a big movement, and I think we could all participate in it with Thoreau, so to speak. So the elections are the easy thing. And if we get through the elections, there's this. Thank you.
That is riveting. I think of all the programs we've had here, we were riveted. I don't think anybody moved very far or very much. So Steve and I are going to take a couple of handheld mics. We'd like to go about 20 minutes to 8:30, and that would give us enough time to continue the discussion and have a little more repartee one-to-one as you sign some books. And so let's do that, Steve.
So if you would raise your hand, and we'll try to keep track of who's up first, and we'll get the mics to you so that everyone can hear, and it's also being recorded, and that helps for the quality of that.
I want to thank you, Dr. Gilbert, for your courage in speaking up and for going to the Middle East to witnessing the dehumanizing actions there. My question for you is, I can recall over the last 10 years talking with the Jewish Renewal Rabbi, Rabbi Zalman Schachter Shalomi. He mentions that he sees America becoming a police state, very much like it was in Nazi Germany or Austria before he left in the 30s. How do you see that from your experience here in America, and do you think this election will be stolen?
Well, these are very deep questions. I would just say that America blew the mind of the world, and mine too. I was in the civil rights movement, and Andy Goodman was my friend, so the fact that we elected Barack Obama president, even though he's the head of the empire, and even though he became a big killer the first week he was in office, they announced the drones had taken out 10 civilians. It's still pretty good. And Barack has increased certain aspects of the police state. What was called total information awareness is what Obama's doing, and what Romney will do 5 times over if he can figure out how to do it 5 times over. But it's bad. But I would say that we're in a situation where if the Republicans are defeated, demography is going to come into play. That is, there's a big movement among the Republicans, led by Jeb Bush, among others, to try to get some Chicano votes. And you can't do it by telling people to self-deport. Right. So that it's possible that there will be some significant transition and abatement of the police state here, and movement toward a green economy and various other things if the world is to survive and we're to be part of it. If we invade Iran, and if there's a bigger war in the Middle East, as far as I know, radiation doesn't stay in one place. We got the problem of Fukushima be smoking right now, and most of our fish be glowing. The fish that isn't farmed is glowing. So I would just say, if you were to look 50 years